Hello, everyone. Deborah Hamilton. I'm so glad you're all here. Let me let everyone in. I'm just afraid that oh, good, everyone's in. And I'm going to unmute everyone and check in. You can let your videos come up or not, depending on how you feel. Hi, Sally. Good to see you. Hi, Diane. Good to see you. Oh, and look who's there. It's Athena. Hi, Connie. How are you? I'd love to.
I
Hi,
I
Athena.
am just fine. Now you can see me
I
with my very long locks.
Yes, I know. Well, mine are pulled back in a ponytail. See, so and that also covers the gray that I see. And as you can see, the little Irish setter there in the picture, in Sally's picture, she's wondering where her mother is in the box because I co-own her with Sally, and so she's looking, going, "I hear her. I hear her."
Uh-huh.
Hi, Diane. Hi, Leslie Noble. It's so good to see you from the West Coast. Oh, my goodness. So today, it has been such a rainy, I don't know how everybody's feeling. I'm going to check in, but it's been such a rainy week for us here in the Northeast. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Today is sunny, and after I'm finished with this at 12:30, I am running outside with my dogs and taking another walk. Hi, Margaret. Good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. I am so glad to see everyone. So let's check in because I'm building this as a community. Please feel free to share it. I'm not selling anything. I'm not trying to, I'm trying to actually get everybody to just do what they can to make sure that they care for their pets. Because at the beginning I was, the MAP program, which is my program in COVID, I had to shift it because like the person who might be taking care of your pet wasn't next door. And if they weren't next door, they might not be able to get there. So let's check in. I'm going to start with, let's see, Lisa, how are you? How's everything going in Oregon?
Things are going well. We had a moment that I was poised and ready to go back to work at the airport for a flight on Friday, but I just got an email telling me that Friday's flight is canceled.
Only kidding.
No, so still
Yeah.
not fine. I'm not the pilot. I'm the girl who checks you in or takes your suitcases or any of those different services. But the dogs are all happy and healthy, and they've never been so spoiled. All six of them are wandering around, just feeling like they own the world. And yesterday, I spent the afternoon down at the barn with the llamas and the alpacas, trying to keep the goats from eating their treats. And it's a daily thing.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because people are thinking, well, this is only about dogs and cats and maybe horses, but horse people, are different, so they're not going to do it. But you also have alpacas, and you've already made a plan with the neighbor up the street, right? Who's going to take your alpacas if something happens.
Yeah, the neighbor up the street has they're alpaca breeders, and so they have alpacas that start at $15,000 and go up to like $50,000-$60,000, and these are, I guess, world-class alpacas. And ours were homeless, roaming through the woods in Northern California after the Paradise Fire. So I don't know whose animals they were, but they were homeless, and somebody had approached us and asked us if we'd give them a home. So they came to live with us. So we have the Rockefeller alpacas who live up the hill, and then we have our just everyday alpacas down here. But ours are retired, and theirs still have to work. So ours are actually pretty happy. They're living their best alpaca lives.
Oh, wonderful. It's so heartwarming because I remember you telling me when we spoke before that they said they'll just be part of the herd. Even the $50,000 ones will, rub shoulders with the ones who were rendered homeless after the fire. So I think that's great. And they found you, which is also great.
Yeah, I don't know that there's such a thing as alpaca snobbery. So we'll have to find that out as the time comes.
Well, hopefully we'll never find that out because hopefully we'll live a long and healthy life. How long do alpacas live?
I have no idea. Yeah, I'm a relatively new. I don't know who's calling me on my landline. I only have one in case of emergencies, and there's no emergency, so I'm not answering it. But it's usually a robocall. But I don't really know, and I don't even know how old these are. So there's no telling. But we had some guys come to shear them last fall, I think it was. No, last spring. And we actually took all the hair comes off in 3 stages, and I'm learning so much. And stage 1 is the good stuff. Stage 2 and 3, not so much. And so they separated into different piles. So because I guess it's very, very valuable. So I grabbed the stage 1 bags and I shipped it off to a friend of mine who's going through breast cancer and is very, very creative, and she weaves and does all kinds of amazing stuff. Felicia Christensen, I think you know her as Flea.
Yep.
Yeah, and so she took it, and she and her mother, I think, created hats and mittens and all kinds of funny things and made me a picture, and which I absolutely adore. But you know, we're finding all kinds of different unique things about these animals, and they're so clever and they're so fun and they're so territorial. And now our Great Pyrenees that just joined us last fall is very, very protective over them. And we got an email telling us that there was a bear found at the end of our street last Friday morning. And Thursday night, we heard the Great Pyrenees barking all night long. And now
He
we
was
know
on
why.
guard. You know why. He was on guard. Well,
He
I'm
was
so
on
glad
guard.
you and the Great Pyrenees and the alpacas did not have a meeting with the bear. That's really good news. Because the map plan is good, but I don't know that it could really navigate that. Thank you so much, Lise. You continue to take care. So, Connie, how are you doing? How's everything going in California, right?
Well, in California, in the LA area, and in fact, we are the hotspot for the state of California, but California is way down on the list, thank goodness. For
We're not like New York. We're still up there.
Yeah, I know. And we have probably been on lockdown now for 6 weeks, I would say, and I don't see that it's lifting anytime soon. They opened the beaches in Orange County and Ventura County, which are on either side of LA County, this weekend, and people were not doing social
distancing, right?
and wearing masks and all the other good stuff. So I am sure that the cases will spike again. But the LA County beaches were absolutely deserted, and in fact, the LAPD chief posted a video of nothing but police SUVs on the beach. So that was very, very good.
Right.
And closer to home, it's been very, very quiet. Of course, all the dog events have long since been canceled. Our last show was at Beverly Hills, of course, which is going to be aired on Mother's Day. They just posted the time and the date yesterday on NBC. So at any rate, that was our last time showing. So this past week, I have been grooming my 3 very hairy Wheatons because they were overgrown. And now, speaking of alpaca wool, I have Wheaton wool for anybody who wants it.
Yeah.
And my 13-month-old boy, of course, is full of piss and vinegar. And but we have a big backyard and a new Belgian sheepdog next door who's our new neighbor. So the kids have been very, very busy, and I've been busy. In fact, I'm after this call, I have an LA County Board of Supervisors virtual meeting to attend. I'm on a countywide committee to look into the mess we had on Super Tuesday with our elections when everybody stood online for 3.5 hours.
Oh my God.
So that's been keeping me busy, in addition to just taking care of the dogs and taking care of the house and all that good stuff.
And taking care of yourself.
And taking care of myself, thank goodness.
There's that
Yeah,
too, yeah.
absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely key. So I think I have to unmute Diane, or she can unmute. Diane, how are you guys doing? I know you're also Irish setter of, favorites. Did I unmute you? I think. Nope, you're unmuted, but you're not. I can't hear you. Maybe at the bottom. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I had my headphone plugged in, but sometimes my headphones die. We are doing well, although it is getting hot as hell in Arizona, which is making it so we can no longer walk the way we've been walking. which was really nice and gave us all very good exercise. But at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's 80 plus degrees right now, and by the afternoon, it's over 100. So we've been doing more indoor activities and stuff just in the yard because at least the yard has grass. I mean, when we go walking, we're walking on asphalt, so I'm concerned about feet.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Yesterday, I took the cutest picture, actually. I just don't know what to caption it. My 6-year-old Irish setter and her 4-year-old son were each sleeping on one of our pillows, butt to butt, like bookends. And the young dog was sitting in the middle of the bed playing with her toys. Like, okay, so this is what goes on all day while I'm at work. This is very interesting. Because, the older distinguished dogs were just sound asleep on pillows, and the little ones playing with all her stuff right in the middle. And then the dachshund, of all things, brought me in a bird yesterday.
Oh yeah, I've had birds and mice from my dachshunds.
Yes, so it was entertaining. But everybody is doing well. And like I told you, I took a leave of absence, so I'm sort of intermittent cleaning. I go through a little bit of this, a little bit of that. One day I do one room, one day I do another room. But something I did that people may find interesting is I've gone through, I'm one of these people that when I find a sale, I can't resist.
Yep.
So particularly if it's dog stuff. So a lot of sites have had like bargains on dog toys, dog cookies, dog stuff. And I can't resist ordering them because they really are bargains. But if heaven forbid something happens to me, I don't want somebody coming in a house where heaven forbid I've been infected and not be able to take this stuff out.
Yeah.
So I've been putting all this stuff in those big plastic tubs and organizing it so that somebody could just take a sanitizing wipe the outside of the tub and move the whole tub, and nothing inside it will be contaminated by my breathing in this house.
That's so considerate, because they just posted this morning, that a pug was diagnosed with COVID-19, which is really interesting because dogs are supposed to not get it. Cats are more likely to get it. So it's really interesting to have that article come out about the pugs, because we're all worried about our dogs. That's why we're here at the MAP plan. We're worried about our dogs, our cats, our alpacas, and make sure that if something happens to us, they're well taken care of. So the last one I didn't hear from is from Margaret Parker. If you can step in, Margaret, that would be great. But I know that you're busy and probably at work. Maybe not, because we're all sheltering at home. Hi, Margaret.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry, my laptop is shut, which is why you can't see me.
How are you doing? Because you're stuck home with a baby as well. Well, not really. He's what, 2 now? Don't tell me he's 3 or I'll really jump in a lake.
Okay, I'm going to wait and watch that because he's 3.5.
He's what?
He's 3.5.
Oh my God, he can't be. I can remember when you were pregnant with him. Oh my God. So Margaret is a colleague of mine. She's an attorney who works in Colorado. And she does these kinds of things. She helps people make plans for their pets. I'm so glad she's here to become part of the community, because we're talking about COVID and the pets. So you do have besides having a beautiful son who's 3.5, you also have a pet and a horse.
Well, I had a horse until I got pregnant, but now I just help people with animals. And I just started my own law practice. I don't know if you knew that, Deborah, but
absolutely, which is why I said you're there to help, because you're now starting your own practice. And I work with so many attorneys all over the country, because I can't do the trust and estate work, nor do I want to. Sort of like those disclaimers on TV. I played a doctor on TV, but I am not a doctor. Well, I help people make their MAP plan, which they can then go to someone like Margaret and say, listen, I'd like to write my will, and I'd like to write my pet trust, which she can do in Colorado, and probably maybe another state if she's admitted there. And then she just plugs your MAP plan in, which makes it easier for you to edit the MAP plan, because she's plugged it into where it needs to be. And when you change dogs, or if a dog dies or whatever, you can always just update it. Or if a dog needs medication, or a dog becomes afraid of thunder, you can change your MAP plan and not have to worry about changing your pet trust, which you've set up. or your will, because it's by reference. That would be right, Margaret?
Say that again. That would what?
That would be right, correct? If you
Correct.
refer to it. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah. Now that I'm doing estate planning, I'm having more and more conversations with folks, and so that's why I wanted to kind of listen into your programming, Deborah. But I'm already talking. You know, I live in a community of horse owners because my subdivision is all 5 and 8 acre properties. And I already have neighbors who are like, oh, you know, I just expect that I'm going to outlive my horses. And I'm thinking, well, you're in your 70s. Your horse
And the horse is 3. It's unlikely you're going to outlive your horse, and you know, the prospects for a horse are much more dire than the prospects for a dog. I mean, in honesty.
The next part of the conversation is, well, and I'm sure your kids, you know, do your kids know how you want your horses cared for, disposed of? And he said, well,
You're popping in and out, Margaret. Are you by a fan?
Let me see. Let me change my screen. All right, is that better?
Much better.
Okay. The next part of the conversation was, he said, well, my kids can't afford to take care of my horses. And I'm thinking, well, then why don't you have a plan in place? So those conversations are very interesting. But as far as the things going on in Colorado here, we have actually just in the last day entered into a new phase of social distancing that our governor is calling Safer at Home, which is supposed to start easing up the restrictions, but keep people reminded that they really still should be practicing social distancing and such. So our governor has gone into great lengths to have very, very detailed orders about who and what and when and how and all that sort of stuff. So it's been a lot to keep up with.
Oh, I know. And for we attorneys, just so all the people here know, the courts are doing a lot of things online, and one of them is trust and estates. So it's not like, oh my God, I can't make a will now with your attorney, whatever state you live in. You really can, because everything's been able to go remote because people have to do these things. But, you know, Margaret is here to hopefully hear from all of you why it is so important to make a plan. And then she's going to have all of her people come next Tuesday when we do this again, to hear about it, because we these are repeat offenders. All of my people here. Margaret, you're a newbie. And I'm so thrilled. And Sally, of course, is my oldest and dearest friend. She has one of my dogs. So Sally, how's everything there?
Everything's going well. People seem to be, social distancing, but there's some new dogs in the neighborhood, and they come right up to you. I want to meet your dog, and here's my dog. And I'm like, go away. I mean, how do you politely say, my dog doesn't want to meet your dog? But they just are right there in your face.
I know. I've had that when I've walked the kids. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm a photographer, and I've got a call now from one of my clients. I photograph dogs for pharmaceuticals. Can we set up a photo shoot? And I'm like, how am I going to stay 6 feet away from everybody in the photo studio?
Or wear a mask.
Well, or wear masks, yeah. So interesting. Just trying to figure out the logistics and, start working again.
The new normal. Yep, the new normal, which, it's interesting. There was an article in the New York Times this Sunday about the new normal, who's letting the dogs in, because people are now, a lot of them have adopted from shelters. And there's at least 10 Zoom meetings from shelters or from rescues saying, what are we going to do when these people go back to work? And I had a colleague last week who said, and I think all of you have heard it, that maybe the shelters can shift their paradigm a little if someone's there to hold a safe space for them to think about it, in helping people go back to work, but taking the dogs maybe as a daycare, generating income for the shelter, but not as much income as, say, a dog walker if you can't afford it, and being able to keep the dog and go back and forth. I mean, it's a thought. It might not work. It might be logistically impossible. But at least, I throw a lot of darts at the wall when I'm thinking about resolution for people, who are in conflict over animals. But I always think, why not? Why not throw it out there? Because it would generate income. Dogs would not necessarily be returned, but only returned for the day and then go home at night. And of course, if they've been with you for 6 weeks, which most of the people who've adopted from shelters have had dogs for 6 weeks, they have at least given them the opportunity to be a better citizen. I mean, Diane is really into obedience and training and having really good citizens. She was telling me about how good her citizens are on the walk. And as I was walking my Irish setter today, I'm thinking, I need a lot of work. I need a lot of work. Junie doesn't need a lot of work. I need a lot of work in directing him to be that perfect, not perfect, but not naughty dog. And my girlfriend told me the word naughty means nothing to him. It's a white word. So it's a white noise to him now. So,
Yeah. Well, Deb, I was thinking maybe Sally should get, I don't know if you're creative, Sally. I can come up with ideas, but I can't put them into reality. Like I get the brain thing, but my hands don't do things right. But I was thinking maybe you could make your dog a little bandana that says I'm social distancing.
It's a good idea. Thank you.
With absolutely with like, and that's what I say. So when I'm out and people want to see their dogs, I said, COVID. I said, I'm just COVID. And that's what I do. So while we're here, I just want to run through, remember what we have to do, because we have to make sure that we have a sign on our refrigerators in case the emergency services comes in and you're, God forbid, something's wrong. They know where to take your pets. So for us, all of us have dogs that we don't want altered, spayed, or given away. Last week we talked about the woman with the poodle who is 9 years old who was given away through a rescue. That happens, and I'm not criticizing the rescue. However, if you had a plan in place and you had very easy to find directives, which is what the MAP plan helps you create, easy to find directives. I'm OCD on redundancy. And I'm also OCD on not having to look for stuff. Please don't ask me to look for, oh, there's a red dog. Please don't ask anybody to look for your directives. I loved, Margaret, when you said that the horse people, I went actually to Washington State, to a cul-de-sac, probably like yours, where all the people had 10 horses. Everybody had 2. There were 5 houses in this cul-de-sac. Everybody had horses. And I went at the invitation of a woman because she said, we really need to make a plan. P.S. I don't know if they ever did because I kept sending them gentle reminders and they kept saying, oh, we'll get to it, we'll get to it. But I said to them, all of you live in the fire zone. It was California, sorry, the fire zone of California. So Lisa got her alpacas from a fire. All of us saw the horses on the beach in California when they all had to evacuate. I said to them, so how many of you know each other's horses? And, everybody raised their hand. And I said, how many of you have 2 hitches? Not 1, but 2. No hands. Because, of course, they only had 2 horses each. Each horse went into their trailer, and they trailed it down the road. I said, you're never coming back to get your neighbor who you love and the horses that you love because you all ride together. If your neighbor is away or your neighbor's at work and the wind shifts and the fire comes toward you, you need to be able to take 2 cars down the mountain. Might not be ideal for a Prius if that's your other car. However, it'll get the horse down the mountain in a safe manner in the trailer because you're taking your neighbor's trailer. I mean, Margaret and I know the liability and everything like that, and we discussed it during this program where I was out talking to these people, but they all realized, wow, that made so much sense. We're both home during the day. We both can drive a trailer. And wouldn't it be great if we could take 4 horses off the mountain instead of just 2? Because once you get down the mountain, they're not letting you up again. It's not going to happen. So this is also, these are things that come to my mind after I broke my ankle in 2013 and realized I had this much of a plan for my 9 dogs. Nothing. Zip. And it drives me nuts when, like Margaret said, my kids are going to take my horses or my kids hate my horses. And you're like, holy Toledo. If you already know that your kids aren't going to take your dogs, horses, cats, you need to find somebody who will. And I talked to a lot of people in independent living because now they allow 20-pound dogs in the Atria, in the Briars, and there's a bunch of those big corporate independent living places, and I go there and I talk to the people and they say, well, my kids don't want my dog and I don't know what's going to happen to my dog, and I just better outlive it because there's no hope. And I said, well, does anybody in your independent living place pet your dog all the time? Well, yeah. Connie does. She pets the dog all the time. And I go, well, does Connie have a dog? No. And they go, well, did you ever ask Connie if something happened to you short term, i.e., you had to go into the hospital because you broke your hip, God forbid, right? Um, or long term, would Connie take the dog? And 9 times out of 10, Connie would take the dog. I had one guy who was a real kick. He went to the dog park every day. The dog played with 3 other dogs. And I said, did you ever talk to them about taking Fluffy? And he goes, well, I would talk to them about taking Fluffy, but I don't want to have to take their dog. And I said, well, if they're younger than you, they likely would put you in the list. I said, if they had, say, a short term, I said, but long term, you probably aren't the long term person. So as you all know, and for Margaret's edification, the MAP plan is the plan you make to navigate the journey your pets take. And Margaret, I'm happy to hold one of these specifically for your neighbors so they can come and hear more about it. It's a plan that stands outside your will and in a pet trust so that you can identify and set up the plan you want for your pets if something happened to you, the needs of your pets, each one that is individual, because all of us have dogs that have individual quirks and idiosyncrasies, and they really should be put down so somebody knows that if thunder comes, my horse crashes through the gates and runs down the street. I mean, you're not stopping that horse if they're afraid of thunder. You need to do this, you need to do that. It's just giving people information so that the horse can successfully be cared for while you're gone short term, or successfully be placed if something happens long term. The other one is appoint caregivers, and MAA. So make a plan, address the needs of your pet, and appoint caregivers. Redundancy: only one person can be a member of your family. Connie and I went through this when she made her MAP plan, because it was she and her husband, and then her husband got ill, and then she's like, holy Toledo. And so we reached out to people who are close and far so that she has redundancy in the plan she has for her beautiful Wheatons, because you really need that. And you really need the note on the refrigerator and the note on your dashboard of your car, especially if you're traveling with your pets in your car. And if you're not traveling with your pets and you get into a car accident, because then people know they're there. So it's just a small card, very easy to read, because I don't want law enforcement to miss it. So they call animal care and control, and your animals end up in a shelter. So it says, I have pets at home. These are the people who are authorized to take care of them. And here's their number. It's black marker, not hard to read. The other piece is publish, P. So if you have this plan, you need to publish it with an attorney like Margaret, so she knows exactly what you want to do and she can call the people to implement it. You want to publish it with your veterinarian, because if you don't publish it with your veterinarian, they won't take care of your pet, because they are required by law to have a relationship with the person bringing the dog in. I can tell you that most of my vet friends say they will take care of Juniper or Roxy if somebody brings them in they don't know, because A, they know I'm good for it, and B, they know I would do it anyway, but they're not supposed to. So you really want to let them know that Lisa and Margaret and Rose and Connie are able to bring my dogs in to care for them, and I'll pay the bill. So you just put their names in your file so that they're there. And the last piece is, you have to let the people who are caring for your pet know who each other are. Because if Connie is your first go-to, but she lives an hour from your house, especially now during COVID, she's not going to get there. It's, I'm in New York. We are pariah. They see a New York license plate, they throw up, or they throw down the tax on the ground so your tires blow out because they don't want you. I went up to see Sally this weekend to try to groom that little girl, and we both did social distancing and we both wore masks and we were very careful. But I was really a little worried about going from New York to Connecticut. I mean, New York is severely locked down. But you want to make sure you publish it with the people who are caring, so that if Sally couldn't take care of my dog, she's sick, she's, doing something, she knows she can call Connie. And Connie knows she can call Diane, so that the 3 of them know there is another person there who, if I can't do it, there, I know who I can call, who Deborah instructed me to call. And I loved, Margaret, when you said, my kids will take care of it, or, my wife will take care of it. I had a woman in one of the big programs that I run that had like 60 people in it. And she stood up and I could have kissed her because she said something I'd never thought of. She said, I'm going to make one of these plans, not because my kids aren't going to take my pets, but because I want them to be guilt-free if they can't. And being an Irish Catholic, guilt is really strong. My mother was just amazing at making me guilty. So the minute she said that, I went, holy Toledo, I'm adding that, because if I can't get you to do it because your kids are going to do it for you, which, P.S., if I had $1 for every kid who walked up and said, Deborah, what am I going to do? I don't want to take my mother's smelly old poodle with bad teeth. I would not have to do this. I would be, on a beach somewhere, because kids really, they truly want to, but most of my sons, one lives in California, one lives in Florida. The one in Florida actually owns one of these Irish setters, who's living with me, because when he was looking for apartments, he didn't look for one that allowed dogs, small detail. The other one has a cat and now lives in an apartment that allows dogs, but his schedule, not during COVID, but normally, is not conducive to having a dog. So to wrap up today, I know we're a minute over, and you know how much I respect everybody's time, so I don't want to be a minute over. I want to talk to you just one more thing. So I had a woman call me this week who was in a complete panic. So Margaret, you'll understand this. Complete panic because she thinks all attorneys are shut down. She thinks there's no way for her to update her plan. She wants to change the people in her plan. She wants to, make a MAP plan. And I said, well, you can do that. You can either work with me, you can go on the internet, look at any of my videos, you can do it on your own, whatever. I said, but all the attorneys are working. I said, and if you need me to speak to your attorney about why they need to incorporate the MAP plan into your trust and estates planning, I will be happy to, because I work with attorneys all over the country now whose owners have, like you all, sat through one of these little community discussions that I talked too much this time, that tells you what you need to do to make sure your pets are safe. All of us want to make sure our pets are safe. She was petrified because she had a plan that was in place 10 years ago, and those people are no longer the people she wants her dogs to go to, but she had no idea how to change it. And I said, well, call your attorney on Monday, have them call me, which they did on Tuesday, and we're working together to build her this MAP plan where she is setting up, clearly it goes to Sally, and then it goes to Connie, and then it goes to Diane. And if Diane isn't able to do it, it goes to the Irish Setter Club of America Rescue, so that she knows that there is always the fail-safe. The National Breed Club Rescue is always the fail-safe. And for you, Margaret, with your clients, any of these, sanctuaries are the fail-safe. You can have the horses go somewhere, but the fail-safe is you make donations to those sanctuaries, and they will at least do their best. I mean, I Twitter with them all the time. I LinkedIn with them all the time. We work together all the time. They will do their best to, if not bring them into the sanctuary, give them to a reputable foster. And next time I think I'm going to talk about foster failure and fostering and adopting, because it is really important. I'd like to wrap up now with all of you giving me one idea of what you're taking away from this diatribe out of my mouth. So I'm going to start with you, Diane. What are you taking away from today that was different from last night?
Well, actually, I'm going to put a sign in my car. After I attended your meeting last week, I put signs on my refrigerator and my bedroom door. So now I'm going to put a sign in my car and in my motorhome, because that truthfully did not occur to me. And also, I actually realized my vet happens to be one of the people that I have listed that would actually take care of my dogs, because she's also a close personal friend. And she is aware of the other people, but I really didn't think to give her a copy of the whole plan. So
it is really important, because then she knows, and she can reach out to Connie or Sally, just using them as examples. And she doesn't have to look. I always want to make the plan that you make for your pets idiot proof. Nobody's going to miss it. Hey, Sally, what did you take away this time? Because you've been like the staunch supporter. You've been here every week, and I love it.
Well, I think I'd never thought of a sanctuary. You know, I trust the people in my plan very much, but you never know. And you know, Irish Setter Rescue, that's great to know about.
Yeah, it's always my fail-safe.
Yeah.
It's always my fail-safe to do the National Breed Club Rescue, not Sally Smith's Irish Setter Rescue, the National Breed Club Rescue, because they are underwritten by the National Breed Club, so they are protected. They don't only pick the dogs a good conformation. Anything that's red. I'll tell you a really funny story real quick. I picked up an Irish Setter from Animal Care and Control 20 years ago, and I walked into Animal Care and Control in New York City, and I looked at this dog, and it was a chow. It was a red chow, I'll give it that, but it was a chow, and it had a black tongue. And they said, here's the Irish Setter. And I looked down, and I looked at them, and I looked down, and I said, yeah, it's an Irish Setter. So as I'm driving out of Animal Care and Control, I said to this dog, you are the luckiest chow in the entire universe, because we are going to bring you home. We're going to find Chow Rescue, and we're going to allow you to be adopted out of Chow Rescue. I wasn't going to leave you there and say, oh, you know, we're not going to do this. We will make every effort to find that. I mean, and he was red, so close enough for government work, right? I mean, that's my thought. Connie, how about you?
Well, I totally endorse the National Breed Rescue as the fail-safe. As you undoubtedly know, I have it in my MAP plan, and I believe, I'll have to look, but I believe I also have the Southern California Wheaton Breed Club. And my BFF, who is number one on my list, is the rescue chair too. So we're in good shape there. But one thing I thought of while we were talking about making sure that your vet has the plan, and mine does. The vets are locked down right now here in Southern California, at least. Mine is open, but you have to do all the social distancing. The vet techs come out, get your dog, take the dog in for whatever appointment is needed, and then bring the dog back out. So that's number one. On your refrigerator sign, you need to put that your dog, that your vet has restricted hours with all the social distancing. And the second thing is that I have let my 3 friends who are listed in my MAP plan know that in a pinch, they can always board my dogs at my vet. That isn't happening right now. They are not taking dogs for boarding. So I need to think about that as far as in a pinch.
What a great point, because that is something that you definitely have to make a plan for. Last week, you weren't here. We spoke about how, you know, a lot of people have their first person 2 or 3 states away. They can't get there right away. So you have to make friends with your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just for leave the dog in the house, in the dog room, or in whatever, so that it's safe, and come out and let it out. Last week I said, make sure you don't necessarily let them walk your dogs. Diane probably can let them walk her dogs, because her dogs are very well behaved and obedient. My dogs, I'm not so sure I would let anybody walk them, not because I don't trust people, but I don't want to give them that guilt. You know, oh my God, the dog got away. Rather, leave them in the house, let them out in the pen, and when the other person comes, but it has always got to be somebody now with COVID, like right in your block. I've actually left notes in every one of my neighbors' mailboxes, and I always start with we as opposed to me. I would love to offer to take care of your dog if something happens to you. And if it's possible, maybe we can have, you know, this kind of coffee over Zoom and talk about how I might do that or you might do that for me. So perfect to point that out, Connie, because it is a little different now.
It is. And fortunately, I belong to a very big obedience club here in the South Bay of LA. And I do have a Cocker Spaniel friend in my club who is literally right around the corner. So she is really my backup. But we all need to think about that stuff, because again, it just occurred to me during this conversation, I can't board the dogs at the vet right now.
Right. And neither can they. And you would pay for it, but neither can they. Yeah.
Right.
Great point. Thank you. I'm going to write that down. Lisa?
I actually was reminded of the keychain fobs that we created many moons ago that said, if I am injured or unresponsive, I have pets at home, please call Kathy, and with Kathy's phone number, because you certainly don't want to put your address on your keychain if your house keys are on there or anything else. But, you know, it it kind of keeps things simple and concise and succinct, and allows that one key person in your plan to triage everything, and they'll be informed as to, you know, where the llamas go, where the alpacas go, where the goats go, where the dogs go, and who has what problem.
Absolutely.
So we have, as far as I have organized things, I have one key person, and then that person disseminates to all the other people.
Absolutely. And if I might, the best thing about having one key person is to have someone who reports to that one key person if she can't answer the phone.
Right.
It's really important to have more than two numbers, you know, at least two numbers, preferably three. You know, I do everything in threes. I'm a three kind of person. It's always better to have more than one number, because you know they are going to be in a cell shitty place when the police call. It's the way my life goes, so I'm sure others go the same way. So I always say have at least three numbers. So on the key fob, if you can fit some numbers, extra numbers, maybe one on one side, one on the other, so that's at least two. So you're doubling your chances of making sure that there is someone who's going to respond, because animal care and control will likely not leave your pets in your home if they don't talk to somebody and have that person say, yes, I'll be there, or yes, I'm here. I mean, if the neighbor across the street comes over, well, you're good to go. But if it's someone who has to actually come to your house and show the whites of their eyes to animal care and control, that would be really an imperative to have more than one number in case that one person, their phone died, they are in a bad cell service, they're in the movies, you know, they're at the theater, whatever it is, you know, where we turn our phones off. I tend to do that now on the weekends, and I had so many emails on Monday I wanted to shoot myself, but I did take everything, I turned everything off this weekend because I was losing my mind. So I did, and when I went back on Monday. So that's what, Lisa, you might add just one number on one side, one number on the other of the key fob. That's a great idea.
We had a similar type of identification from my National Breed Club that they gave out in the welcome bags that are specialty a few years ago. And it's a wallet card. And I have it in my wallet. And I have two numbers, two people on it. And it's marked, you know, with the Wheaton Club insignia. And I have dogs at home if I, you know, am
Right.
injured, blah, blah, blah. So that's another alternative, is a wallet card too.
Absolutely. I have wallet cards that I give to everybody. So if anybody wants one, just email me, send me your address, I'll mail it to you. I have wallet cards. The only thing is the police have to look for it. And that's always telling for me. I like them not to have to look. Margaret, what have you gotten out of this? This is your first fire hose.
Actually, I did read some of your stuff before going on. So it wasn't my first fire hose, but it's reinforcing for me things that I've already been thinking about, how to encourage people about estate planning. And that is that estate planning is kind of a misnomer, because you're planning not just for things that happen after your life ends, but also for if you're incapacitated or unavailable. So while you're still alive, and planning for things like pets. So I'm still working on the messaging so that people realize that we're not just helping people with wills, we're helping people think through a lot of other things in their lives too that they may not have realized with respect to like advanced medical directives. Then you also have your animals.
Yep. It's interesting, Margaret, I spoke to 150 trust and estate attorneys at the Suffolk County Bar Association live before COVID. And I asked them three questions. And I think everyone here might have heard me say this, but I'll say it again. How many of you have pets? They all raised their hand. How many of you have directives for your pets in your will? 50% raised their hand. I said, how many of you have a pet trust that directs the care of your pets if something happens to you and you're not dead yet? Crickets. Crickets. So I turned to them, which may have been flippant. Not that I'm ever flippant. None of you would think I was flippant. Yes, I am. I know. I own it. I said to them, so how do you think you're going to sell your client on making a pet trust if you don't have one yourself? You need to have one yourself. You need to tell the story about why you have one, because here you are, you have a young son, you might not be able to get to your pet, whatever. It is about telling the story to your client, having them fit in their life into your story. And that's what I did they wanted to know how to make a pet trust. And I said, guys, you know how to make a pet trust. This is how you make a pet trust. I said, but nobody's going to buy it from you unless you tell them why they need it. They need it because they want to have peace of mind. They need it because they want to make sure their horses, in your case, don't end up in slaughter in Mexico, which is pretty close to Colorado. They want to do it because they. I will offline. I'll send you to Janice Lauderville. It's the Aging Horsewomen's group. If any of you like horses, you can join the Aging Horsewomen's Facebook group. She rescued 2 horses that both owners thought had gone to really good homes. And when she got them, they weighed about 700 pounds. They were skin and bones. They were miserable. They, were in the kill lot. She rescued both of them. And what I love about Janice, she just wrote another book called Here Comes the Mountain. It's about her Morgan. She rescued, no, it's a saddlebred, I think, the red horse. And she said, I bring the people back not to tell them, how dare you, look what you did, you left this horse to rack and ruin and blah, blah, blah. She brings them back in to love on the horse again, because the horses forget. They are forgiving and they forget. So, and these horses usually didn't deteriorate in these people's hands. They deteriorated not in the person who they gave the horse to, it was the person after the person. So, Connie's going to give her horse to me, and then I'm not going to call Connie when I can't take care of the horse anymore. That's what has to be in your map. If you can't take care of your horse, my horse anymore, I need you to call me. And if you can't get me, Sally. And if you can't get Sally, Diane. So it was like the 3rd or 4th person who let the horse, just fallow out in a field and starve to death. So it really is imperative. And what I love about Janice is that she brings the people back to say, I'm so glad these horses are a part of my life, and I'm so glad that I restored them to health, and I'm so glad you're here to love on them again, not to be told, like a lot of people do, how dare you, you didn't follow up. Nothing's to be served by being, criticizing people. Better to educate them and have them then, because these people now go out and tell people, listen, I gave my horse to Sally, who was the best home the horse ever had. However, Sally couldn't keep it, and I didn't really make a written plan. Margaret, nobody writes shit down. It drives me nuts. I'm sure it drives you nuts. Well, I have a plan with Connie. She knows, we did it over a glass of wine. And you want to shoot yourself as an attorney, because if something happens, even though Connie might know what she's supposed to do, if Animal Care and Control has the animal, I don't know that they're going to follow that verbal plan, but they will follow a written plan. Correct, Margaret?
One will hope so. At least you have a better chance of it.
You have
if I can just jump in, since you're taking my name in vain all the time, Deborah, as a breeder, and you will appreciate this, when you craft your puppy contracts, regardless of whether or not you own the dog as a show prospect or it is a pet, that's going to a wonderful home with lots of kids, you put in the contract with the new owners that if anything, for any reason, happens to you, I am to get the puppy back, regardless of the age, even if the dog is 13 years old. And I will make sure that it is placed in a proper home. So if you have something like that where it's for the life of the animal, I cannot stress that enough. Just like a puppy contract.
Absolutely. And I'm doing a conscious contract for breeders starting in May. I'm pulling people together now because it is about having that conversation. So it's great to put that in the contract. If you don't mentor those people, they're not calling you. And once the dog is gone, good luck.
Right.
And if in fact there is someone in that dog's life, the next door neighbor, the aunt, the son, whatever, is a really good home, I co-own everything that walks out of my house. And I tell everyone, and my contract says, listen, if you have someone who has been a central part of this dog's life, I am happy to have them come back, enter into a contract with me as a co-owner with the same provisos. If something happens to them, the dog comes back. But recognizing the dog doesn't have to live with me. I'm not the end all and the be all. But if there's someone who really wants this dog, I am happy to interview them. I'm happy to give them the dog. A lot of people say, well, you have to pay for the dog. And I'm like, the best homes are the homes that know the dog, love the dog, know its idiosyncrasies, and can seamlessly move from the woman who maybe passed away or whatever. And I don't love that the person gets cancer, God forbid, but I always love when people next door take their neighbor's dog for 6 months a year while they're battling cancer, because then the people with the cancer can see their dog and it can help them heal, and then they get it back. I mean, the things I've worked out on these conscious contracts where people have actually thought about what it is they really want for the benefit of the pet and their benefit has been amazing. So if any of you are interested, let me know. It's talking, and I think it's $25, because I just want to make sure people make a commitment to be there to talk about the contracts they want to make with their puppy owners, that makes you ask the questions, because a lot of times the terms we put in our contract, we know what they mean and our buyers don't. So what we do is we talk about the vision, we talk about the outcomes, and we talk about the values of the terms of the contract, so we're all on the same page, which is key. Because I know, Connie, if in fact somebody said to you, listen, our dog walker is phenomenal, and here's her name and number, and we can't keep her, would you consider her? You would absolutely take that information, but it has to go through you. I know that because it has to go through me too. You know, we're control freaks. Whelping box to the puppy cup you let them go on. You know, it's, you know, when they're hopefully 200 years old, which none of mine have lived that long, but I could hope for that. I mean, I just wrote something that for a magazine, and I said the hardest thing for me to do is to say goodbye to one of my dogs with one of my owners, because that grief I can never shoulder for them. I can shoulder my own grief and I, you know, compartmentalize it, but I just would not want my owners to feel that grief. And so if you can help them know that A, it goes back to you, and B, if there's someone that dog knows that's wonderful, then if you approach it correctly, you can have a control over that. So I've way gone over this time, and I apologize, everyone, but I think it was pretty good. Lisa, did we check in with you? I don't think we did.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, Margaret, we checked in with you. Rose is my assistant, so she unfortunately never gets checked in with, and I apologize, Rose. It's not that you don't have a lot to say. It's just that we're time crunched. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm still holding these on Tuesdays. I want to build a community, so if you bring a friend next time, that'd be great. Because it really is about getting the word out on how to enlist attorneys like Margaret, like me in New York, to help you build that plan for your pets, because you can do it yourself. You can go to LegalZoom, you can go to Rocket Lawyer. I always say that the only problem with that is when somebody questions what you've done, there's nobody there, the attorney, to say, that's what Sally meant. You know, if you do it on your own, nobody knows what the terms mean, perspective and perception. If you do it with an attorney who is really willing, as I said, I work with attorneys all over the country, who's really willing to understand that these pets are really our children. And though the courts aren't seeing them as our children as much as we would like them to, it's shifting. We would really like to work with our attorneys to make a plan that is really going to respond the way we want. So I so appreciate all of you being here. Thank you so much for coming. Please come back if you can, and bring a friend next week, because I'll talk about something new and still give you a little bit of the map as well.
Thanks, Deborah.
Thanks,
Thank-
Deborah.
Thanks, Deb.
Thanks, Deborah.
Thanks, everyone. You guys take care.
You too.
Love you.